delve into this a bit more, I want to talk to journalist and broadcaster Mike Parry here in the studio, and also former Labour MP Stephen Pound. Good afternoon to you both. Stephen, let's start with you. What was your reaction when you heard this apparent plan by the US to keep nuclear weapons?
Well, Pip, there are a couple of extraordinary things about this. First of all, fair play to the Telegraph. They've actually exposed this by going through budget requisition documentation in Washington, and they've found that what's happened is the Americans have been putting out to tender applications for additional accommodation for RAF pilots for the 48th Fighter Wing, which they mostly fly F-35s, which obviously can carry this bomb, and also ballistic shields. Now, they've done the work. Now, the reality is that the Americans have got atomic weapons in the Netherlands, in Belgium, in Germany, in Italy, in Turkey, and we've got 4 nuclear submarines who can actually project intercontinental ballistic missiles, 2 of them being continuously at sea. So, on the one hand, you can say this is just pretty much a continuation of what already exists. On the other hand, questions will be asked. People in Parliament next week will be saying, why did Parliament have no say in this, if they're being put back again? And the other thing is, a lot of people will be thinking, we're going to go back to Greenham Common, aren't we? There's going to be, even as we speak, they're booking the coaches up to Lake and Heath up there. But that's the specifics about this particular issue. In the generality, yes, I think the Cold War is actually coming back with a chill. You know, just as we move out of winter into spring in this country, the Cold War is coming back. There's a sort of a permafrost there. And I have to say, Pip, it worries me. It particularly worries people of your generation, I think, who enjoyed the continuous...
Well, because we've known nothing but peace.
I know.
And many people would say, Mike Parry, that we've become somewhat lackadaisical.
I totally agree. Reports that say, oh, the world's now becoming a more dangerous place because we have decided to let the Americans bring nuclear weapons back to this country. I'm sorry, but in my view, that makes the world a much safer place. Now, as Stephen will know from his experience, the last time we had the capability to launch nuclear weapons out of this country was Greenham Common in 1983. And guess what? The Soviet Union collapsed. It collapsed, and we took them away in 91. The Greenham Common cruise missiles were shipped back after we'd got rid of the Soviet Union. I think this will have the same effect, reminding that madman Putin that the West can flex its muscles, it can show solidarity. Stephen outlined all the countries in Europe which have already got nuclear deterrence at their disposal. This is just an extension of that, and I think it's a fantastic thing that we're doing it. Lakenheath is one of the most feared US fighter pilot locations in the world. It's where the pilots who attacked Gaddafi's Libya took off from.
It's the 48th Fighter Wing.
48th Fighter Wing, thank you, Steve. They've got the world's best pilots there. And if you put the best pilots in the best planes with the ability to put a nuclear weapon on the end of a missile, that must worry that madman Putin and all the other people who have declared war against the West.
And do you think there would be a slightly different approach if Putin wasn't in power? I mean, there's been a security expert today, a security intelligence expert, Professor Anthony Glees, who's saying that the nation should be prepared for conscription within 6 years unless Putin is defeated. Now, 6 years from now, what's that? Beginning of 2030?
Look,
it's not very long.
I think this is all madness about, war with Russia and all that kind of stuff. The idea that Russia could declare war on the West, because if they declared war on us, they declared war on NATO. The GDP of NATO and its ability militarily is about 20 times the size of what the Russians have got. The Russians can't even get rid of Ukraine, a former satellite country of their own. They couldn't possibly fight against the West. That is a myth, and it's an idea that is prospered by people who say, oh, we mustn't upset the Russians. If Joe Biden had upset the Russians a little bit more, they wouldn't have gone into Ukraine.
The problem is, though, Stephen, is that and we don't know yet what is going to happen with Ukraine. There's some suggestion that there might be a deal. We don't know what's going to happen, the impact that it's going to have on Putin's thinking if Trump gets elected. So if Putin believes he's had some sort of victory in Ukraine, then he's going to be even more gung-ho, isn't he, than he already is?
I don't know. I mean, let's not apply the template of sanity to a person who is a frothing lunatic. I mean, the man is a psychopath, no question about that. Look, both sides in Ukraine and Russia need to have a fallback position. You've got to have your somewhere that you can fall back to. And probably an independent Crimea is the solution to that. But look, on your point about Russia, it's not just Russia, it's North Korea and Iran. Both of these countries are utterly unstable, and they're not democracies, you know, they're dictatorships. They are perfectly capable of going for the Armageddon option. And I think that Putin, to imply that there's an element of sanity there is to give the man too much credit. However, compared to what's happening in Tehran and in Pyongyang, those are the people who terrify the hell out of me. And I think I'm a natural nuclear disarmer, to be perfectly honest. I'd much rather the world didn't have nuclear weapons. But
you agree with the nuclear weapons coming into...
The world is just too damn dangerous not to.
Well, it's not possible. More and more countries are getting nuclear weapons all the time, you know, and Iran might have one soon. And,
well, they probably have, to be honest.
Yeah, they probably have.
Israel has.
Israel has, and I think South Africa was very close to getting one.
South Africa gave it up.
Yeah, exactly. But look, I think we've also got to look at what's going to happen on the world stage this year. I think Donald Trump will get back as US president, and I think that will shift the balance of power in the world enormously, because Trump is the sort of guy who could talk to Putin and could do a deal and get Ukraine to accede a bit of territory and calm down, you know, the explosive nuttiness of Vladimir Putin.
I just want to bring in a couple of viewers' views, because obviously not everybody is going to agree at all with you know,
just wait till what's going to happen in Parliament next week.
Nuclear weapons here, you know, anti-war campaigners, etc. will hate the idea. And Shirley, good afternoon to you. You ask, why are we accepting this from Joe Biden? He has no time for the UK and has no problem telling us. Let him place this weapon in Ireland, who he loves and trusts so much.
Well, I mean, Joe Biden, I don't think is completely in charge of American policy. He can't be, because he is so dishevelled sometimes in the way he thinks. Steve will know this better than me, being a seasoned politician. There are power structures within power structures in all countries, aren't there? And I don't believe Joe Biden is the guy who's suddenly said, right, let's put nuclear missiles back in the UK. That's happened because of the way that America works and their enormous reliance on their military. I think what will happen here is that Putin's got to make one last throw, I think, before Trump probably becomes the next US president, and he's going to try and ratchet it up. And this is a good response from the American military to say, don't you dare try.
Well, can I just respond to your correspondent? I mean, Ireland's not in NATO.
Not a correspondent. This is a viewer. Don't confuse them. This is a viewer called Shirley.
I beg your pardon. So she's corresponding with you. So, Shirley, if you want to make the case for Ireland joining NATO, be my guest, but I don't think it's going to be particularly popular. But I think that Mike's actually not for the first time put his finger on something here. There are senior military figures, Admiral Bauer and various other people in Washington, who are actually superior to the day-to-day politicians. They make the long-term decisions. And they don't make them by reference to Congress, just as much as this has not been made reference to the British Parliament. And what they will be seeing, they will actually perceive a rising level of threat, and they are responding to it as they know how. And that's what this is. But as you said, it's ratcheting up. And the minute you actually increase the stakes, you increase the danger. And that's what worries me.
Yeah, but nuclear weapons have always been a deterrent, and it's how effectively they work as a deterrent. And to me, this is another element of deterrence to stop Putin getting, you know, out of his tree. He hasn't got great forces.
Is it not also poking the bear?
No, I don't think it's poking the bear. What I think has happened is that Biden has been frightened to upset Putin. He's been frightened to upset Iran. And the consequence of that is that Iran have run wild, as Stephen's already told us, and Putin thinks that he can just desperately thrash his arms around and get his own way. America have got to, as the leaders of the Western world...
A bit like you're doing now, Mike, thrashing your arms around. We're going to have to leave it there.
Sure.
Really good to talk to you both and to get your thoughts on this this afternoon.